State senators and representatives will gather at the Capitol in Oklahoma City this morning to kick off the 2023 legislative session. In Oklahoma, the session usually only lasts until May, so there's a lot of decisions to make in the next few months. Scott Mitchell is a political analyst here at Griffin Media, hosts several programs and forums with politicians throughout the year. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning, Dave. How are you?
Good. I say usually lasts until May because we've had our fair share of special sessions here recently. But, you know, Scott, we've reported on a lot of bills that have been announced, right? The one eliminating federal funding from education, stopping Ukrainian soldiers from training at Fort Sill. A lot of these bills have been announced and have made the news. Now the step is, how far can they get, right?
Yeah, and most of the ones that you see, I call them press release bills. They have zero chance of passing. They're made for public consumption, try to get media attention, and they're not serious and are not going to happen. So I tell people, just put your fingers in your ears in January and just ignore the stuff coming out of the press release mill in Oklahoma City, because it's not going to happen.
So what are some things that could happen? What are some big issues that you would expect the House and the Senate to have somewhat of a consensus on and to make it to the governor's desk?
Well, I think this is my colleague in Oklahoma City, the majority floor leader who is on my weekend program, John Eccles, says the legislature is going to be passed or graded on pass-fail. If some of this money that we have over $1 billion in savings account, if some of that doesn't go back to taxpayers, they're going to be irritated, according to the floor leader. And so if there's going to be some sort of tax cut, it's an issue that the speaker wants, the governor wants, and that's going to happen at some point. They'll get together with the Senate and get that done. Probably grocery tax.
And I was going to say, there was some disagreement last year between the executive branch and the legislative branch. They disagreed on school vouchers. They did end up disagreeing on grocery taxes. Do you see any openings for Democrats this year to take advantage of potential splits and maybe get some of the issues that they want as well?
It's a great question. I had the minority leader in the Senate, minority leader in the House on Saturday on Hot Seat, and they were saying, look, we have some things we can work together on. But I got to tell you, the sheer numbers, they just don't have many numbers to do much leveraging. Most of what Democrats can do is use the bully pulpit and try to convince the public that you should support these things, especially the middle-of-the-road Republicans, to try to work with them.
I know the legislative, of course, well, I wanted to move on actually to the first thing that you said about the money coming in. This is our last question. Oil been solidly above $60 a barrel for well over a year now. That means energy tax revenue coming into Oklahoma's coffers, continuing to come in. What are some of the things that we're going to do with the money, aside from tax cuts, do you think?
Well, I think that there's probably going to be a lot more money put into education. The new superintendent has put on the table a reading program. Republicans like this. I mean, in some ways, he's controversial, gets a lot of attention. But the reading program, watch that one. Also, there's still this money that's just ARPA money that's been appropriated in infrastructure, broadband. They'll still find ways to spend that money.
Right, and there are federal grants sometimes, matching. You just never know what's going to happen. Right. Scott Mitchell, excellent stuff. You can see him on Hot Seat. Thank you so much, Scott.
Thank you, Dave.